Yes, hello, I am James Rowlands, and today it's the WNR330. And I have the pleasure to be joined by the Ultimate One. How you doing, mate? You all right?
I'm back. Yes, I am doing great, man. I got enough time in my hands. We're still on lockdown here in New York City. Well, not that crazy lockdown, but the infection rate is a little high, so they're really like trying to make sure that everybody's wearing masks. They're gonna open dining again. I think Valentine's Day. You get to eat inside the diner now, so for a little bit, and I guess.
Well, that's more than what we can here in England at the moment. Like I said, it's not been great for that, but we hope April things might be trying to get back to normal.
Well, that's great, man. Listen, as long as we got wrestling and keep us our mind occupied and not listening to the news and listening to these crazy things, especially over here in America. I'm very excited to remember this. I'm so excited to be on your show today because we get to talk about what happened this past, well, in my case, Wednesday. The whole wrestling scene is about to do a gigantic shift. And it's funny because, like I said in my podcast on Thursday, I spoke about this a year ago. I did made a YouTube video where I said there was some possibility promotions getting together and things were going to change.
Well, like I said, that is what the show today is all about. We are going to be main evented as it was by AEW Beach Break and all the news from that. But the last time that we had left it was Impact's Hard to Kill pay-per-view. So we're going to have a look at the fallout quickly. We go to the January 19th edition of Impact after Hard to Kill. We see Don Callis promising to be back soon, but said he and Kenny Omega were focusing on AEW for a little while. And Impact World Champion Rich Swann and Moose had a confrontation, are set to face off soon. We saw Tony Khan. He was actually at Impact with Jerry Lynn backstage in a paid advertisement saying that Private Party first hand would deliver the money for the paid ad next week in person. And then we get the Good Brothers Private Party, Chris Sabin and James Storm segment. The Good Brothers coming out and talking about Hard to Kill. And saying what they did together with Omega. Chris Sabin coming out and saying the titles belong to Motor City Machine Guns, but obviously he had no partner until James Storm came out side by side and challenged the Good Brothers. But as that was just about to look like it was going to kick off, we had Matt Hardy's music coming out with Private Party. Big Money Matt was, of course, back in Impact for the first time in a long time, and said that Private Party deserved a shot at the gold. I mean, this was just I think an excellent segment. Performed well by everybody. It set the stage saying the Good Brothers are kind of your tag team champions, and not only have we got challenges at home in Impact, but also with AEW and Private Party.
Yeah, I mean, I love the promo that Matt Hardy did because he said, if it wasn't for me, this company would have been gone. And you have to give him that credit because at that time when he was still there and when he did the broken gimmick, it was the hottest thing going on in Impact. And the Impact was, at that moment, the people that were running it were not focusing on wrestling. They were focusing on other things. And the fact that they brought it, that goes to show you AEW and Impact are really, really working. It's an actual working relationship. It's not a one-time thing, a two-time thing. It looks like it is a working relationship because for them to bring in Private Party, even though Private Party has been lost in the shuffle on AEW, but bringing them in there and kind of throw them in the tag team scene in Impact, and Impact tag team scene is not as strong as I used to. It's a good move on everybody's part. Everybody wins in that little situation.
Yeah, I mean, Private Party look like bigger stars now that they've come in to Impact. And it's like I said, we were wondering how the relationship would continue, and it just kind of made perfect sense. And then we had the main event, which was Private Party versus Chris Sabin and James Storm to earn an Impact tag shot. Hardy distracted referee as Lynn grabbed Sabin's feet, holding him on the middle turnbuckle. Private Party then hits for the pinfall, earning the tag team title shot in the future. Then the Good Brothers came down and faced off a Private Party, but Storm and Sabin attacked, and all three teams broke into a brawl as the show went off the air to end a very, very solid show. This was really good stuff from Impact, and I think the next month will kind of feature the fallout from the pay-per-view, but it makes sense because with this, obviously they've announced the next pay-per-view in April, and you've got monthly specials, but it does give a little bit more time to tell a story, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, because now see, and then look at the way they're setting it up, because right now you're making a story of these two teams, especially a Private Party. I like Private Parties now. They got that very cocky attitude. I mean, at times they look like they don't agree with Matt Hardy, but they're real cocky. They're very young, flamboyant and all that stuff. And it kind of sets up more storylines where maybe Private Party beats the Good Brother in some way where, they either cheat or something. And the way it's set up, because I know the next pay-per-view for Impact is in April. And then, but before that is AEW's Revolution, because they're moving it up to March because there's a fight, I think, at the ending of the month of this month. So they don't want to put it in the same on the same day, which is a smart move. They're doing it on a Sunday to top it off. So that's going to be very interesting. I'm still staying up late to watch that. I don't miss AEW's pay-per-view. So it's a good setup because like I said, both companies are not working just on like one-time deal. They actually, you can see the Impact and AEW are actually there's a working relationship, which is it's going to help. I think the one that comes out winning out of all this is Impact, especially now that Impact has a lot of wrestlers. Their contracts are up. I know Josh Alexander, his contract is up. I believe Jordan Grace's contract is up. So, they have to find ways to continue to have Impact and make it interesting and, have viewers watch the show.
Yeah, and I think it has, with Impact, to its credit. I'm a viewer that, probably watched TNA. Last thing I can remember is, Buddy Ray as the kind of TNA world champion, and then kind of checking bits and pieces. But I've been watching it kind of, week in, week out recently, and it has been quite a solid show. We're going to see that, obviously, as the month progresses. But we'll move on to AEW Dynamite, and that was January 20th. The show kicked off with Minus One's birthday celebration and 6-man tag team action. And of course, as any kind of birthday or wedding, as we're going to see, kind of gets interrupted with the birthday cake. But we had Hangman Adam Page and the Dark Order, which is Alex Reynolds, Colt Cabana, and John Silver versus TH2 and the Chaos Project. Page hit the buckshot with Reynolds in there to grab a German suplex combo, scoring a pin or Serpentico. Inside the ring, John Silver got on his knees and asked Page, will you join the Dark Order? Page declined the offer. Did the group thing for it. It didn't really end well for me. I'm so sorry. I really do like Page. This was a great finish to the match. What are your thoughts on Adam Page and the Dark Order? Should he have joined?
I think, but it makes it a more interesting story as we're going to go on and probably cover the next 2 other weeks of AEW. But it makes you say, okay, he doesn't want to join them. He does fit well with them, but he doesn't want to join the group because of what happened with him in the Elite. I think he should have I think his decision was right because, you still have the Adam Page. He doesn't know what he wants. If he want to join a group, he doesn't want to join a group. He's like a loner type. And I think it's a good storyline. Because then you're going to build up the coming weeks with him, with Adam Page still wondering if he's going to join. I know there was an episode with BTE where Anna Jay was like, get the hell out of here. I don't want you around the boys. You disappoint them. So it's an interesting story. At first, I was like, okay, Adam Page does not fit with Dark Order. Now, as the weeks go by, okay, he needs to be part of Dark Order. Yeah. It makes it more interesting.
I think they need something strong, obviously, after, of course, with Brody Lee as well, to have someone that can maybe take the mantle of that, or maybe someone inside the Dark Order can take the step up. But then we had Tony Schiavone in the ring to Darby Allin and Sting. Sting was handed the microphone. He said, there's something that reminds me about me in you, and I kind of like that. I want to be the first to congratulate you on being our TNT champ, and second, I want to make sure everyone knows I was just to make sure that was a fair fight. The cool Sting was interrupted by Taz, who said, you guys want to fight dirty? I grew up in the streets. Do you want to take this to the streets? And the kind of challenge was laid out, and of course the match is official for Revolution. Darby Allin and Sting versus Ricky Starks and of course Brian Cage. The thing with this thing, as we're going to see as well, we kind of need this match sooner rather than later now, don't we? Now
the question is this: they accepted the challenge. Who's going to take the brunt of the punishment? The offense from Team Taz, because I don't see Sting taking a bad bump or a crazy bump. I don't see that happening. He may be probably, fighting. Like probably in street clothes, whatever, fighting, whatever, not taking nothing huge. I think Darby Allin, being that he's the relentless one and reckless one, I think he's going to be the one taking, probably, if they take it to the parking lot, maybe he takes a a body slam on top of a car. You know how AEW is. So, but it's gonna be interesting because now is the question is, okay, Sting is in AEW, now what? Well, we're gonna find out now because now he's in a street fight.
Yeah, I think it would be quite interesting to see what they do with that. And then we see footage from early in the day airing the Elite were at Kenny Omega's house when the Young Bucks showed up. They basically got into Don Callis's face, who's saying he's too busy to actually get hold of you guys. They're telling him he was manipulating Kenny. The Bucks moved towards Callis, and Callis yelled, and the camera feed cut out. Of course, we weren't sure what was going to happen there. Then the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes versus Pretty Peter Avalon. Cody hit Avalon with a crossroads. Jade Cargill's music hit. She walked out onto the ramp, distracting Cody and the ref. Cody was then drilled by a low blow, but he managed to lock the figure 4 on Peter Avalon. Avalon was able to reverse it. Cody turned it back and threatened to slap Pretty Peter in the face. Avalon tapped out before Cody could do it. Thoughts on this? I know Avalon is a jobber, but I think Cody Rhodes is showing that he can wrestle basically anybody in AEW, no matter where you are on the roster.
Yeah, I mean, I think he did a favor for Peter Avalon to come out on Dynamite. But if you really look at this match was another match where they were promoting Jay Cargill and the show, The Big Show. I think that's what it pretty much the way I took that match. I mean, Peter Avalon, and this is the part that I'm like, I'm surprised that guy's still working with AEW because he was one of the first guys they picked up in the Indies. And even though already when they picked him up, he was like being a kind of a comedian type of wrestler, gimmick type of wrestler. But I think he's paid his due there a year and a half, where he's had matches with Brandon Cutler, and it was always comedic stuff. And for him to go in there and I don't know, I felt like he gets buried. That's the way I see it. I think he should have. I mean, he did some type of offense, whatever, but the way he lost, it was comedic. And again. And Jade Cargill, they tease her. They're going to put her in, tease her. And I'm like, where are we going to see this woman wrestle? You know what I'm saying? I mean, she's in great shape, but we'll see. We're going to get to see it in a couple of weeks.
Well, we get John Moxley versus Nick Camarato next, and he went toward Mox, but Mox dodged him and began to kick him across the stern, and Moxley then laced in the kicks hard, used his opponent for meant to suplex him. Mox got the hooks in and put Camarato to sleep. He then asked for a microphone after the match and says, now anything can happen on Wednesdays, and things are getting crazy around here. I can't keep track of everything. Kenny Omega bring his frat brothers from Nashville in and their watches back. All he did was make it more fun and interesting. More bodies, bigger brawls, more blood, more violence, more necks to break, more limbs to snap. I love this. You can bring wherever you want from Nashville, Mexico, Japan. All the roads lead through me. I was quite impressed by the big man in this. Of course, Moxley is still in the hunt. And I don't know, I think John Moxley's got a little bit more interesting since losing the AEW World Championship.
Yeah, I wrote this on my notes when he said that all roads lead to him in pro wrestling. And again, we saw that this past week, which all roads lead to him. But I mean, he's doing good. I mean, he's more dangerous when he's the guy chasing. And the wrestler he fought, Nick Camarato, I remember somebody mentioned it to me online. I had no idea who this guy was until I saw him fight Moxley. He did pretty well for his Dynamite debut. I hope to see more of him. A lot of people are talking highly about him. So, but yeah, Mox is he looks weird without that belt though. I got used to him with that belt around him, and now he's walking around looking like he's naked.
But it's a lot more far from him. And we see Dasher was backstage with Kingston with Butcher, Blade, and the Bunny. And asked about Kingston about his match next week against Archer. Then we see Murder Hawk, Monster storming onto the set with Jake Roberts. Save it for next week, said Jake. And then Kenny Omega was caught up by Alex Marvez. He had no comment for him. Don Callis was holding a black eye under his sunglasses. And Omega made him take the glass off to show him he was outraged over what he saw. And then we get Matt Hardy in Private Party versus Matt Sydal and Top Flight. Of course, Private Party #1 contenders for the Impact titles. They attempted silly string, but Top Flight had it countered. We see Top Flight and Sydal get the advantage of Mark Quinn until Matt Hardy pushed to Martin off the top. As the ref was distracted, Cassidy swung a steel chair at Dante's ribs. Mark Quinn smiled at his partner's antics, followed up with a shooting star press and pinned Dante. After match, Private Party sought Top and Matt Sydal with some encouragement from Matt Hardy. So we're seeing a slightly darker side from Private Party now, but I think that adds more to the story, you know?
Yeah, we saw it the day. I think it was the day after or the day before when they had that little cocky attitude and Impact, and then now you have to go to Dynamite and do the same thing. And I was very surprised they used the chair. Also, Top Flight, they look good and whatnot, but they still a little green because there was a little confusion in the beginning of the match. They looked real good, but they still look like they not. Probably it's because of the chemistry of both teams, but the match was pretty good. It's just sometimes there's a little confusion though. Private Party, if they continue the way they're going with the cocky attitude, with Matt Hardy guiding them, I think they could go far. They could be top competition for whoever's the AEW champion, because like I said, when they came in 2019 when they were part of that AEW tag team tournament, which they beat the Young Bucks, where they were the ranked number 8 team. They show what they were made of, because I saw them in person. I knew what they were made of. I know what they brought to the table, but they kind of got a little relaxed the last couple of months after that, throughout mostly of 2020. Now as they showing, they still got a little stuff they gotta learn. They show sometimes some a little green here and there, but I like the attitude now. I like it. Love it.
Well, we get our next match, which is legit. Layla Hirsch versus Penelope Ford. Orange Cassidy was seen watching from ringside. Layla is 4 for 11. She avoided an axe kick from Ford, ran up the top rope and jumped onto Sabin. And Charles Taylor, Penelope stole the pin after kicking down Layla's ankle. Murrow called Butler Charles Taylor into the ring, and he just grabbed this microphone and told George Michael wannabe Orange Cassidy that I'm your best friend now. Reluctantly, Taylor held the microphone and said it, and said Mira's my best friend, and Cassidy got up from his seat and walked away crushed.
Let me tell you something about Penelope Ford real quick. The Layla Hirsch, she comes out in these matches, and this woman never wins a match. And they put her in there with Penelope Ford. And that match with Penelope Ford still needs, she's another one that's green as hell. She did a knee shot on Layla, which it didn't even look like it had any force behind it. So, and the fact that she won that match is because of outside interference. When you got too many people outside interference, you know who's going to win the match.
Yeah.
So that kills it right there.
Well, talking about outside interference, so to speak, the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson, Doc Gallows, assault Pentel, Zero, Medo backstage him, and then removed the designer boot and stuck the point right into his eye. And then we move on to main event time, the Inner Circle Tag Team Challenge, determine the official tag team of the Inner Circle. Ortiz Santana versus Demo God, Chris Jericho, MGF versus Sammy Hager. Anyone can tag anyone. Whoever gets a pin wins for their team, explains Schiavone. MGF powerbomb Sammy, and Jericho followed up with a line sort for a near fall. Santana and Ortiz tagged in and blindsided Jericho. Ortiz got 2's count on Jericho, but Jericho came back with a code breaker. Ortiz Sammy connects with a jumping knee shot and then blasts Jericho with a GTH. Sammy tried to finish off MJF, but he had him hoisted on his shoulders. He walked into Wardlow, who had popped up on the apron, and suddenly he fell backwards from the collision. MJF rolled up Sammy for the victory. It wasn't a bad main event, but we were talking about this last time, and about Santana and Ortiz. Now, is this the right move for AEW at this moment, or should they have, maybe gone with the familiar?
Well, looking at it now, the Santana and Ortiz looked like the better tag team in there, in the ring, But again, we have to put that to the side because there's a storyline in it. We got all the guys from Inner Circle. They all trying to jockey position. Who's the number one tag team in that group? I think it would have been better if, let's say they pin MJF or Chris Jericho, and then MJF gets mad or whatever. Something would have happened that would have caused it, and then now you have Santana Ortiz upset with the group because the group, whatever the case may be, and then now you have a chance that you could have Santana Ortiz roll by themselves. But that wasn't the situation, which what I like was MJF ended up pinning Sammy Guevara because of Wardlow. So makes it more interesting because now you got to go back the following week and you have to see what happens. So they're leaving a cliffhanger. So sometimes, yes, we want our favorite tag team to be in an area where you say, well, look, these guys have been here. I'm a big advocate for Santana Ortiz because I followed these guys for a long time, and I feel that they should be in a better position than they are now. But I also have to see where the storyline is heading. Where now you want to go next week and see, okay, let me watch this week and see what happens. Because last week, MJF and Jericho won, so now we got to see what happens. So and it's more like cliffhangers, and I think it was the right move.
Well, I'll take your point, and it's exactly right as well, because sometimes with TV, and this is what NXT used to do when it was kind of 1 hour show back in the day, well, sometimes it was setting up so you wanted to continue watching for the next, couple of weeks, as opposed to having that kind of the main show, so to speak, and maybe not a lot of story. And I think that's what Dynamite is doing quite well. And we move on to Impact with 26th of January, and Impact World Champion Rich Swann hit the ring, and he basically asked Tommy Dreamer, who's going to celebrate his 50th birthday on February 13th. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I was about to say, we see Tommy Dreamer, it's going to be his birthday at No Surrender February 13th, and Rich Swann has asked him to challenge him for the Impact World Heavyweight Championship. Sami Callihan interrupted proceedings. Chris Bay made his presence felt next and said it was also his birthday, and he's 25 years younger than Dreamer should he receive a title opportunity. We see Moose injected next and expresses, and Swann told everyone that the match's Dreamer is already set. And then the lights went out when they came back. Ken Shamrock attacked the babyfaces, leading to the heels standing out. And in just one segment, Impact introduced all the top players and contenders to Swann's title and set up an air of mystery as to who would be able to get the next opportunity after Tommy Dreamer. It's a really good way to kind of start the show. And again, for anybody that's not seen Impact, maybe turning in for the first time, it sets the stage and says, these are your major players, and this is what to look out for in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, because wasn't Moose the one next to a title shot for Swann? Because I mean, he did attack them after the tag team in Hard to Kill. I mean, I'm still seeing Moose winning it all. Moose, like I said, Moose has improved incredibly. I don't know why Tommy Dreamer even getting a title shot. That guy shouldn't even be wrestling no more.
It is his birthday, so that's what Rich Swann was doing it as a kind of sign of respect, so to speak.
Okay, so. But I still think that Moose should be the next one getting a title shot. Sami Callihan is going to be Sami Callihan. Regardless of what Sami Callihan, whatever storyline he's in, he's always going to be in the world title picture. At this point, you got to have him in the world title picture regardless of what he's doing. If he's putting barbed wire in somebody's mouth, on his head, or killing somebody, the guy's got to be in the world title picture. But Rich Swann, and I'm sorry, because I know you're a big TNA fan or Impact fan, and you like Rich Swann. I don't see Rich Swann as a world champion. It's like he looks weak. I don't know. That's just me. Maybe because I'm used to seeing him in the X division, but that's just my opinion. I mean, I think Moose should be the next one to win the world title, and then we could probably see Moose versus Kenny Omega, because that Hard to Kill 6-man match showed that Omega and Moose are like magic.
Well, talk about Impact Wrestling, talk about the new appearances as well from people. We had Matt Cardona, obviously Zack Ryder. Yes. He showed up and teamed with Josh Alexander to take on Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. He actually broke down Cardona, caught Fulton with the radio silence for the pinfall victory. So he's very serious at the moment. His, of course, podcast friend, as it would be, Myers, he beat Edwards by DQ. There was an abundance of perfectly acceptable wrestling here, but less about the in-ring content and more about Edwards as a changed man following barbed wire massacre, which I think we did mention at the time that he was going to change. And, of course, talk about Myers. He has the look and the serious tone now that was missing from his days as Kurt Hawkins.
Yeah. Myers looks way better now compared to Kurt Hawkins. Remember, when he was in WWE, his gimmick was he had the longest losing streak in wrestling history. I mean, who wants to have that gimmick, Now he looks more serious. I seen him wrestle Josh Alexander one-on-one, which I think he did beat Josh Alexander. I mean, you see the difference when you got guys in WWE and then they go to another promotion and it's like their star burst. And you see what they're made of, Yeah. Same thing with Matt Cardona. Cardona was always been a gimmick guy in WWE, and his only WrestleMania moment when he won the Intercontinental the belt, only to lose it the next night. And Matt Cardona, he looks great. He looks great. I mean,
and the thing
I hope he stays in Impact.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. The interest to see him in Impact, and it's weird to think with Zack Ryder that they punished him in WWE for basically getting over himself, which is crazy when you actually think about it. But we see Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone buying another ad for Impact. They rub it in Don Callis' face that they're tag team Private Party and now the number one contenders, and they run through what Dynamite happened as well. And then backstage, Matt Hardy and Private Party having a little chat about putting a bounty out, so Private Party have an easy chance of claiming both the AEW and Impact World Tag Team Championships. And then in the main event, it wasn't all that long ago that Trey Miguel appeared to wrestle his final match in Impact as the Rascals took the final bow, with Brenton Dez now competing in NXT. But he made his grand return, emerging from locker room as a mystery partner for Tommy Dreamer, Willie Mack, a world champion Rich Swann, as they battled Moose, Chris Bay, Sammy Callahan, and Ken Shamrock in the main event. This was a really good main event. Moose speared Mack. Miguel wiped him out with missile dropkick and pinned Callahan to score the win for the baby faces. But after the match, Shamrock attacked the referee, applying and standing tall with Callahan to show to close out the show. But this is what
supposedly he got suspended for that.
Well, he did, and he just went mental, and it's kind of weird seeing Shamrock because obviously, you know, we've seen him throughout his career, and he can still play crazy ever so well. But just the kind of talent on show, and we talked about earlier about, you know, it might be a horrible time in the world, but with what's going on in wrestling, with Impact, the amount of talent just in that main event, it's a good time to be a wrestling fan, without a doubt.
Yeah. I mean, and like I said, I think Impact, in as far as their talent is concerned, they need to stop being cheap and pay these guys, you know, and keep these guys. You can't just keep having a revolving door coming in and out. You lose guys, you bring them in, then you lose them like within a year or 2 years later. You got to keep them because, you know, if you keep the roster you have now and you add other wrestlers that from other promotions that could give you 4-star, 5-star matches, and you add them with what you got, then you have a promotion that people are going to be investing in. And I think that's what's going on. I mean, Willie Mack, I mean, I don't like the way they pushing him in there because I seen Willie Mack wrestle in NWA. He was a former United States champion NWA or national champion, whatever it was they called now over there. And he could wrestle, but I think they should just not make him look like a mid-card wrestler or sometime a jobber, whatever it may be. But they, like I said, Impact needs to keep their wrestlers, give them their money that they need. You don't have to give them $5 million, $6 million because you don't have that type of thing. But, you know, it's all about keeping the roster. And then, you know, Trey Miguel, who would have thought that he was going to come back? Supposedly he left to NXT, but his other two partners joined NXT. He didn't. So them getting Trey Miguel back, that's a good move.
Yeah, and like I said, Impact has been delivering good shows, and that episode of Impact averaged 186,000 viewers on Access TV. It was up from the kind of Fallout episode from Hard to Kill. But another thing about Impact that makes it, for me, quite easily accessible is available on the app kind of straight away. So all I have to do is go on the Impact Plus app and watch the latest episode of Impact. Of course, the network doesn't do that for Raw and SmackDown, but of course that's through TV deals. But we move on to AEW Dynamite, the 27th of January, and the show opens with the intro video, and then we get Eddie Kingston versus Lance Archer. Archer sending Jake to the back. We get Kingston in with chops. Archer pushed him to the corner with a boot, running back elbows. A lot of hard hitting action. The choke slam over the ropes outside. Eddie banging the apron. I've just put
that was sick.
Shit. Yeah, I just put shit in my notes.
That was a sick move. I mean, I was like, wow. This is what I'm talking about. Lance Archer. Lance Archer is a beast, man. Go ahead, continue.
Like I said, that was disgusting. And then Eddie getting thrown face first into the camera. Archer dominated. We got the EBD claw, Simon Kingston to the mat, but Butcher and Blade run the distract, dragging Jake the Snake Roberts out onto the stage. Clearly haven't beaten him down. Bunny slips Eddie some knucks while Lance is distracted. Back fist to the future, and it's over. Eddie Kingston winning by pinfall. Post-match, Butcher and Blade drop Archer with a powerbomb neckbreaker combination. They draw him up, and Eddie hits another back fist to the future. I do like the Eddie and Archer. This feud is good for now, and they were talking about it. September 5th, 2020 is when the feud began, and you talk about long-term booking. This was because of the elimination. It was a good match as well.
Yeah, it was. I mean, at first I'm saying to myself, okay, because I remember when they were talking about Eddie Kingston kid throwing shots at Archer. I never got eliminated. I got to go back and watch this. I don't remember Eddie Kingston ever being eliminated. So, but it's good because it's long-term booking. You let it build up, and then this first match. I love the fact that Lance Archer actually gave the first match up to Eddie Kingston. I mean, but he did damage on Lance Archer's face with that whatever he had in his hand, because he did show it on Instagram. He had like a little swelling on the side of his face, and like a little red mark, but because Eddie Kingston hit him hard. Somebody hit him hard.
I like it. The two guys don't hold back.
Yeah. But that's good. But that goes to show you that's that Japanese strong style. You know what I'm saying? You don't see that a lot in other wrestling promotions. AEW will let you wrestle the way you want to do. You know what I'm saying? WWE doesn't do it because you got to wrestle the WWE way. Impact, I don't really see it, but I think they wrestle their own way. But that match between Eddie Kingston and Lance Archer, that was a great match, especially that bump you was talking about. I mean, he chokeslammed him outside. I've never seen anybody done that, and it was sick.
It was just the ease that he kind of threw him, and then, like you said, Kingston just bouncing. You're going, fucking hell, that's a tough move,
It was great. It was great.
We get a John Moxley promo where he tries to break down the current relationship amongst Kenny Omega and all his friends. He said it's like the episode of Young and the Restless, and it's never going to work. He's a simple guy. He likes his beer cold, his coffee hot, his water at room temperature, and his sex in the morning. He likes to use his right hand and his left hand and not complicate things. And he's excited for the trios match because gang warfare is fun. And then back from commercial, we get another promo with Sting and Darby Allin. Sting scoffing at the fact that they got called hoodlums, where Darby is actually a hoodlum. About survival, and he smashes the window with his baseball bat when Darby Allin is smashing it with the skateboard. What did you think of that backstage?
Sting looked like he was having a hard time breaking the windows with the bat. Yeah. I mean, Darby Allin just threw. You see that Darby Allin just threw the skateboard right through the window, no problem. You see Sting over here struggling, trying to break 4 windows with a bat. I'm like, damn, that glass must have been hard, or the bat sucked. Which one is it?
Well, can't wait for that match.
yeah. I mean, it's a good promo. I mean, pretty much they're just letting you know what's gonna happen. So they're letting everybody know. Look, you remember Sting is coming back to wrestle Darby Allin in a street fight. So this is just kind of something to remind us. Hey, look, if you don't see them on the show, don't start complaining about what happened with the Team Taz and Sting, because you know how wrestling fans are. So they pretty much just reminding you, look, we're called hoodlums, but we are hoodlums and we're ready for the street.
And like I said, that match needs to happen, and I think as soon as it does, then we can kind of move on for what we have, because it may be repeating itself a little bit. But our next match is the Inner Circle versus the Varsity Blondes. We see MJF get on the mic and tell Sammy Guerrero got to talk at the match before, offering Galveston a chance to quit right away. He doesn't take it, instead beats MJF down. Matt scrambles away to the safety of the floor. Griff gives chase, drops him with a big boot throw and goes to the floor to get a chair as the Inner Circle cooled down. And then back for commercial, we see Galveston is cleaning the house on the hills. Big back jolly drop. We stack them up with Stinger Splash on both, and then tag to Pillman, a tight near fall, and Jericho out to the floor and back in. But a Jesus effect sets it up. The Inner Circle get the victory. But I was watching this and I'm thinking it's a really good match. The Lion Soul afterwards as well from Jericho, showing he can still hit the move because he had a bit of shit on Twitter. But the Blondes, I think, have a ton of potential as well.
Oh, they do have a ton of potential. And they're going to take a while before either they're going to move up as a tag team or they're going to split up, because both. I mean, Brian Pillman Jr. I mean, the guy could wrestle. I watched him in Major League Wrestling. Griff Garrison has shown a lot of potential from when I first saw him. But the finishing move that Jericho did, I mean, it was great. He hit the Judas effect and then he hit the Lion. So I was like, wow, like this guy impresses me all the time. And the way he called Pillman coming off the ropes, it was lovely. I mean, he times that. Like, he's not the first guy who got caught like that. But then to hit the Judas effect and then hit the Lion Saw, I mean, it was a good move. I like what they did. And pretty much this match, it was good, but pretty much the match was really about, what was going to happen. If something was going to happen in the match. We just talked about, the cliffhangers or whatever, because you saw how MJF said after the match, Sammy meet you, so it's still leading you with this thing, like, are they going to break up? Are they not going to break up? What's next? And then you saw that once MJF and Jericho won, Sammy was like, don't worry about it. Forget about it. We'll talk about it later. Forget about it. Like, he didn't want to bring it up in front of the crowd.
Well, up next we have Paxton, the promo where he calls out Kenny Omega for acting like Billy Big Bollocks, which actually made me laugh out loud. Minute Plate was cheating and attacking from behind like a pack of dirty mongrels, and tells him that next week he'll face the consequence. Acting like Billy Big Bollocks, I don't think gets said enough on professional wrestling TV at this moment in time. It was a great promo from Pac showing what he can do. And then we see Tony Schiavone in the ring and introduces Cody to respond to both Shaq and to Jade Cargill. Calls Brandy's pregnant, so that's not happening. And he's confessed that he's distracted. He defers it to the coach, Arn Anderson, who basically had a go at him, chewed his ass out for taking Peter Avalon too lightly. And then he says that basically he's got a partner for Cody, and that's Red Velvet. And then she comes out and says she's going to basically stir your bitch ass up. So it looks like the match is set there. And then we get Radio Package hyping up Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford's wedding at Beach Break. And then we get Hangman Adam Page versus Ryan Nemeth. Front kick, big DDT, shades of Big Brother Dolph Ziggler, but you can't keep Hangman down. Back elbow in the corner, boot up, German suplex, but Page lands on his feet and hammers him with a rolling elbow to end it, and he does with the buckshot. Thoughts on this one? Page needs direction, which we've been talking about. This was a good match. Ryan was safe and solid, of course, living in the shadow of his big brother Dolph Ziggler. What were your thoughts on the match?
I mean, it was good. I mean, Ryan Nemeth, I was like, okay, let me see this guy wrestles like his brother. I mean, he looked like his brother a little bit. He's got the little shiny wrestling trunks. I mean, it was pretty decent. I mean, he tried to do a little comeback here and there, but most of the match, I think it was more for Adam Page to show what he still got. Again, what I've been saying, this guy got a bunch of talent, a bunch of skills in that ring, but he's still a loner. He doesn't know where he's going next. And this is where Matt Hardy pops out, and Matt Hardy offers, that he wants to be his friend, and, he's been his friend since when they did the Spring Stampede. So, again, it goes back to what we talked about earlier. It's now more confusing because now Matt Hardy, he's trying to manipulate him for him to join him, to manage him. But then you still got Dark Order in the back trying, still confused why he didn't join. So now you want to watch it the following week because now you want to see what's going to happen with Adam Page, who he's going to join. Does he still want to join Dark Order, but he's still confused? Is Matt Hardy able to, pretty much convince him, look, I'm your friend, I'm here for you, and kind of manage it?
Our next match is Dak Harwood versus Jungle Boy Jack Perry, Tyler Blanchard, and Cash Wheeler, a handcuff to Luchasaurus per his stipulation. Suplex lift sets Perry up on top, jockeying for position. Suplex roll through is no good. Electric tear, victory roll countered. Jack rolls through, neither guy can tag. Crucifix from an upcollar roll, no good. Perry fights out the follow-up, thinking backside. Howard breaks it, knee to the gut. O'Connor roll, kick out, Schoolboy, transition into the snare trap. And after 10-15 minutes of action, we do see Jack Perry get the victory over Dax Harwood with submission. And then this... well, first off, let's talk about the match because obviously Jack Perry, for me, he looks like a star. There's certain things he can maybe work on with his build and stuff like this. But I think credit to Dax because obviously Revival get told what a great tag team they are. But as single wrestlers, we don't really see this or not. For me, it was probably the most enjoyable match of the night so far.
Yeah, it was. This was the what I call Jungle Boy coming out party. Because, we already had seen him wrestle Jericho when Jericho was the champion and lasted 10 minutes. And I think this is the reason why I say that Jurassic Express should be split up because Luchasaurus is a great wrestler also for a big guy. But Jungle Boy, again, this is just going out party and coming out party. And then to wrestle Harwood, who's another guy Harwood reminds me so much of R. Anderson, his way he wrestles, the way he picks up a body part. He got that old school mentality. And then when you bring it in there with a young guy like Jungle Boy, man, the stars are the limit with this guy. I see him. His body build, because he's still young, he was a little slimmer than that, but you could tell he's bulking up a little bit. But this guy, this was the best match of the whole night. I was very surprised of what I thought it was going to be a short match, but these guys brought it. It was a perfect match.
Yeah, Dax technically proficient, I think, is the word. And like we said with Perry as well, there's so much potential, not only in his story, but the kind of way he can improve himself as well. And post-match, We see Tully throwing a handful of powder into Luchasaurus's eyes. We get a 3-man spike pile drive with Tully Blanchard on top. And then they handcuff Luchasaurus to the ropes. They get a pair of scissors and snip the horns off the mask. And then back from Taz, responsible for promo that Darby Allin and Sting said. Taz just yelling in that one. And then Dr. Britt Baker versus Shana. Shana really with some strikes to Larry, only near fall. But just as she gets into it, she gets caught with a rolling neck breaker and then looking for lockjaw. Hits a stunner, rises capitalized off the rope, head station drop kick. But Britt reverses, lockjaw in the middle of the ring, taking the time to lock it in, winning by submission. Thoughts on this? It wasn't a great match. The women's division AEW for me right now is Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa. And the question is AEW incapable of having 2 or 3 women's feuds at the same time on Dynamite?
I don't know. I mean, you know what's surprising to me in this match with Shana? Shana does not wrestle the way she wrestled. Shana is better than that. And I felt like she was playing too much to the crowd. Britt Baker is getting better and better. I mean, I don't know, man. It's like 1 minute you think right now that if you look at it out of that whole roster they got, the only ones who are right now legit that I'm talking about, they probably are like the stories in the women's division is Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker, and Serena Deeb. Because the rest of the roster, I don't know who's running this roster and who's training who, but I mean, and let's not forget Anna Jay. Anna Jay has improved so well, and Taya Conti, both of them. But we're talking only about five wrestlers, women wrestlers in there out of what, about 15, 16, you know? I don't know. I right now they're hoping to do this tournament coming up, and I hope that you know, some of these Japanese women that are supposed to be coming back makes it more exciting. But listen, me and you have spoken about this, and one match of a woman match every show is not going to help the division. You cannot have that. You got to have at least 2. You got to cut out parts of the show that are not worth putting it on if it's going to waste 5 or 4 minutes. You know, these interviews or whatever. You have to put women wrestling on the map. You want your division to get better. You can't put everything men, and only one woman match and whatnot, and then think that your division is gonna get better. They're not. They're not getting better. I mean,
well, this is the thing, yeah.
I mean, to me, again, I mean, yeah, you're gonna feature Thunder Rosa, you're gonna feature Britt Baker, you're gonna feature Serena Deeb, but what about the rest of the other girls? You have to put. I mean, I was talking about Penelope Ford. Penelope Ford hit a shot at Layla Hirsch. Didn't even look like it was even no force behind it. So that tells you that they still green. I think they just happy being AEW, making money. And supposedly Kenny Omega is the one who's supposed to be in charge of the women's division. And it's not getting any better. So one match per week is not going to help your division.
Well, like I said, they need more than that. They need more than one story, because obviously you've got Shida at the moment with the Women's Championship. It's kind of getting forgotten about. Maybe AEW need to look at see if they can get Finlay in, because of course Finlay and his work he did with the W Women's Division. And it gets to a point where I watched a couple of women's matches in AEW with friends, and they're going, "Is this a dress rehearsal?" And I'm saying, "What do you mean?" They go, "Because it doesn't look like it, a normal match," and it's because of how green they are. And need to put into place. But again, Dynamite is doing so many things right that Lee Cullen maybe need to work on the women's division. But another story they're following is, of course, MJF, who's in the bathroom somewhere trying to explain to Sammy Guevara. He swears he didn't tell Wardlow to get involved, but Sammy sees through his shit and knows exactly what he's been up to. He's not playing, and we are done here, he said. And then back commercial, the Good Brothers and the Young Bucks have interviewed. The Good Brothers said they're doing their very favourite thing next week, and that's beat up John Moxley. The Bucks are on the same page as long as Don Callis isn't involved. Kenny Omega rolls up and slaps hands with the Good Brothers, asking the Bucks if he's interrupted and saying they need to talk. Callis comes up and the group bickers as the entrant music calls them away. Now, I quite like this because it just showed you what a piece of shit Don Callis was for kind of faking the fact that he got a black eye and saying that the Young Bucks did it. And it adds another kind of thread to the story as well.
Yeah, I mean, and not only that, now you got to ask this question: Are the Good Brothers playing the Young Bucks? And Don Callis, as he called himself the Invisible Hand, he's behind all this. You know that, and it's going to be some type of implosion where, you're going to have the Good Brothers versus the Young Bucks, whether it's going to be a title match or not. And don't be surprised if becomes a champion versus champion. And how you call it, the Young Bucks end up losing the belts to the Good Brothers, and now the Good Brothers from Impact got the AEW belts. I mean, there's so many possibilities, man. I'm over here thinking like a booker.
Well, we get on to our main event. It's Dark Order versus Good Brothers and the Young Bucks. This was a great match, and in the end, Dark Order off the top, fatality, but Anderson breaks it up. Good Brothers clear the ring. Grayson tags back in, but Nick Jackson has super kicks for everybody. Corner for it, set up the Escala, apron power bombs on Silver, Uno, and Reynolds at the same time. Stu is isolated. We get a four-way super kick party, but even Uno breaks it up. Uno out, Buck scoop up Grayson, melts the driver, and it's over. They win, of course, win by pinfall. Silver has a great moment in there, and he is super, super talented. Every time we see him, he seems to be getting better. And this was a good matchup. And then post-match, the Good Brothers throw out the Too Sweet. Bucks get the mic to talk about the number one contenders battle royal for the tag team titles next week. And they said anybody, we will be putting them up, and they go for the Too Sweets as well. And then Nick runs in, springboard drop kicks, takes out the Bucks. The Good Brothers beat him down, but John Moxley makes a save. Kenny Omega's out here with a pointed boot, but a power shift takes him out. It was a great sell by Omega as well. AEW keep delivering the good shows. What were your thoughts on the main event and the ending to that episode?
Oh, it was great. That was a good setup for the main event for Beach Break. And then my concern was Pac going to make it to the United States for the following week, because they had, I know here they were going to have travel restrictions for people that are non-American, including the UK, all this crazy stuff. And I was like, well, it'll be sad if Pac doesn't make it. But, I mean, it was a great setup for a great six-man tag that was going to happen at Beach Break. And, it was a great setup. It was just a great setup for things to come. That's all I gotta say.
Without doubt. And then finally, Impact, February 2nd. Backstage, Tommy Dreamer and the Impact World Champion Rich Swann are having a chat. Dreamer's excited about his career coming full circle. He looks forward to having his birthday celebration being a title match with Swann tonight. Swann and Dreamer will be in action. Dreamer tells Swann that he'll do everything he can to help Swann out of his tag match. Also backstage, even though they have a big match tomorrow on AEW Dynamite's Beach Break, the Good Brothers still have targets on their back here in Impact. Not only is it's also Chris Sabin and James Storm. Storm confronts the Impact Tag Team Champions for their actions a few weeks back. He challenged them to a match next week. If they don't accept it, Storm and Sabin will fight them tonight in the parking lot. The Good Brothers accept their challenge for next week as well. And then we hear from Brian Myers. He feels somewhat responsible for the eye injury that he took from Eddie Edwards last week. He calls Eddie an unprofessional wrestler, and his mentor, Killer Kowalski, would be rolling in his grave. Eddie's heard enough. He comes to attack him. Hernandez comes out to help Brian Myers. He's still looking as good as ever. And just as it looks like they're going to beat him up, Matt Cardona runs down to the ring to help out Eddie. And they've set up for no surrender. It's going to be Eddie Edwards and Matt Cardona versus Brian Myers and Hernandez.
Nice match.
Can you sense a turn in that one? Will Cardona turn heel, or do you think they're trying to show like, no, these two guys are actually separate? One's a face, one's definitely a heel.
Nah, I don't think Cardona's gonna turn to a heel. I'd be surprised if he does. I'd be very surprised. I mean, I guess they figure, they want to make a tag team. One again, think about it. These are former tag team partners, Myers and Cardona. They were the tag team champions when they were the Edgeheads and whatnot. So why not put them against each other? I don't think they ever wrestled each other in WWE. I could be wrong, but I mean, if he turns heel, I'll be surprised. I don't see Matt Cardona turning heel. I
think with Impact and Matt Cardona, I think it could be a really good relationship because he can bring eyes to the product, and also Impact can help him out. Like you said, build him up to actually be a wrestler that people give a shit about as well.
Yeah, but here's the problem. I know that Cardona doesn't. I don't know if it's Cardona or Impact. I think Impact wants to give him a contract. Cardona doesn't want to have a contract because he wants to wrestle everywhere else. But see, to me, he should jump on a contract because now with AEW and Impact working together, right? You still are able to wrestle in Impact, and then you also could wrestle in AEW. And if New Japan, is working with Impact, you could go to Japan wrestle. I mean, this is a great time, to have a contract. I mean, you're gonna make money regardless. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I know for a fact he doesn't have a contract. He hasn't signed a contract. He's just making, I guess, get appearance per paper appearance. So I know, that's the way he has it. That's what I read the day after Hard to Kill.
Well, it'd be interesting to see what happens there, because like I said, it makes sense for him to kind of get the contract and just get about his business. And then backstage again, we see Matt Hardy predicting that Private Party is going to win the AEW Beach Break Tag Team Battle Royal tomorrow and come back and win the Impact World Tag Team Championship at No Surrender. Big Money Matt can see it now. A ton of cash and double belts. All he asks of Private Party is to show up. And then we have Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone want fans to tune in to Beach Break Special. Fully announced the match is scheduled for tomorrow. Khan continues to throw his weekly shade towards Impact Management. And now the main event, which is Moose and Chris Bay versus Rich Swann and Tommy Dreamer. Swann is worked on for the vast majority of the match. And Dreamer manages to get the hot tag and basically pays homage to Dusty Rhodes with a few big shots on an elbow. He sends Bay headfirst onto the canvas with a DDT. Moose comes in and sends Swann's out cold with a lights out spear. Moose hooks the leg on the world champion and gets the pinfall. Your winners, Moose and Chris Bay.
That's what I'm telling you. Moose is going to be the next world champion, and he's going to. And put it this way, if he does beat what's his name, Rich Swann, he's going to merge the belts together, and he's going to be walking around with only the Impact belt. The TNA belt is going to be gone. They're not going to see it again, and we could be watching a Kenny Omega versus Moose. Champion versus champion. That's the best. I think that's a better match than having Omega versus Rich Swann. I mean, I know there's a lot of Rich Swann fans, but that's a better matchup. That's it.
The thing is, though, with Rich Swann is that they're got pinned in their big match at Hard to Kill. He's been pinned now by Moose, and the storyline that they're saying is that Moose, Rich Swann has beaten plenty of people, but never got a victory over him. So
I mean, and it's great because that goes to show you already know what Dan Callis is thinking already, and the other guy, they already know. Look, if he got pinned in the main event in the Hard to Kill, he gets pinned again. What that tells you, they're gonna take the belt away from him and they're gonna give it to Moose.
Well, after the match, Tommy Dreamer gets beaten up and Moose holds the championship up high. So this is another good show. I'm interested in the Myers story. And of course, Matt Cardona, the Good Brothers is good for business. And like we've talked about, Moose is a star. Even his entrance theme is great. But we move on to the main event as it was February 3rd. And it's AEW Dynamite. And it's time for Beach Break, and the show opens with the intro video, and we get Sammy Hager sending another video hyping up his boys Jake Hager and Sammy Guevara as your next AEW World Tag Team Champions. What a world this is. And we start off with the AEW World Tag Team Championship #1 contendership Battle Royal. Jungle Boy theme is one of my favourites. I know they bought the rights to that now. And it was great to see them making their entrance coming out here. First and foremost, before we get into the action, what was your excitement level for Beach Break, and what match were you kind of looking forward to the most?
The Battle Royal, I was looking forward to that because the Battle Royal, again, it goes back to the following, the week before, where the Young Bucks claimed, well, if we win, we want to, we'll know who to challenge, and then look at the Good Brothers. So I was looking forward to that. I definitely was looking forward for the Break of Thunder Rosa match. I didn't know they were going to have the Hangman versus Hardy versus Chaos. That was surprising to me. I didn't know they're having a jungle or lumberjack match between Lance Archer and Kingston. That caught me off guard. But the main event, Phoenix, Pac, and Moxley against the Good Brothers and Omega, that was one that I was really, really, wanted to see what will happen after that.
Well, let's get on with this fantastic action. Like I said, we start with the Battle Royal, and it's a hot start for anybody can even get the ring. As the Bucks hit stereo senton dives off the stage, the bell rings, and the Bucks hit super kick parties, and everybody, eventually everybody gets in. You get your usual Battle Royal, Private Party take out Dante Martin. Alex Reynolds eliminates Jake Hager after Alex Reynolds eliminated by Jake Hager for a big struggle, but John Silver and Stu Grayson knocked Hager out after. That was brilliant. John Silver getting... And I started to think now that the way the commentary team reacted, the way the crowds reacted, is that John Silver really has potential to kind of be a breakout star in 2021.
Yeah, John Silver got a lot of talent, and this is the one thing I try to explain to people when I do my podcast. John Silver, I saw him wrestle the first time in House of Glory here in New York. I mean, his talent, how he is, how he's built, and I mean, and him taking out Hager in this battle royal. Do not be surprised next week. Hager is going to be wrestling Silver on a one-on-one match, because Hager every week, I mean not Hager, Silver every week, he either brings something every week, he goes hungry like they call it, and I mean I love the guy. He's funny, he could wrestle, he has the power. I mean, and when he starts doing those kicks, he reminds me of a miniature Daniel Bryan.
It is like incredible, a guy his size and like the power and what he can do in there, and you can't take your eyes off him. But we see Matt Jackson getting eliminated by Santana or Ortiz.
Hold on that thought. Here's the part that had me crazy when Matt Jackson got eliminated. The first thing that came into my mind, I don't know if it crossed your mind, when Matt Jackson got thrown over the rope and he landed on the stage. Did you say to yourself, is he eliminated or not? Because that was
yes.
Yeah, I know I wasn't the only one. So I was like, he better be eliminated, because that's part. He went over the rope. I don't care if it's stage or no stage. He's over the rope. So
probably like I said, if it was like kind of elimination over three sides of the ring, but the other side that you can't, I think people would be upset. But that was one of the eliminations that I kind of forgot about until later on in the match, and I was thinking, where is he? And then I realised he'd gone kind of so early. Anthony Bow by Jericho and MGF, Luchasaurus double arrow looks them right after. Going to town on Private Party, then Proud and Powerful. We see Nick Jackson springboards into a chokeslam. Dinosaur stands tall. Grayson ducks in Pele kick. The Dinosaur is unmoved. He chokeslams Grayson into Anthony Bowens. Evil Uno and Silver eliminate the Dinosaur Man. Uno and the Meat Man going to work on Jackson, but MJF dumps Evil to the floor and eliminates him. Private Party working the remainder Martin over. He blocks Silly String, and Mark Quinn is eliminated when he falls to the floor. Because sometimes the Silly String, it's quite an evolved setup, but they do look stupid sometimes, and I think that was a clever way of actually eliminating them.
First of all, I don't understand why would you use the Silly String on a Rumble or a Battle Royal. They don't make no sense. That part, I'm like, okay, who called this? You're gonna use the Silly String at a Battle Royal, really? Anyway,
Cassidy's still in it though. Silver double suplex Ortiz and Santana, but they dump him and eliminate it in turn. Ortiz and then puts Santana on the apron and knocks him down with suplex to eliminate Proud and Powerful. Again, Santana and Ortiz didn't get a light shine on them in this match, did they? Really,
oh God, I was like, okay, so you got the Young Bucks probably about to get eliminated, but you still eliminate Proud and Powerful. Why? But then when I saw that, I said to myself, wait a minute, the Inner Circle is in here, all of them. So I'll say, okay, this Battle Royal was more to enhance the Inner Circle storyline, but also the tag team titles.
But the thing is, though, a couple of weeks ago, you have the match of who's going to be number one tag team, and maybe have just them entering it to prove they're number one. I know you've got the Inner Circle to kind of help out the numbers, but again, it's just maybe kind of little things. We see the Good Brothers come to ringside. Nick Jordan drops down, they lowbridge Cassidy and eliminate Private Party. MJF from behind, he eliminates Jackson, and the Bucks are done. And he and Jericho flex for the crowd. It's down to them, Sammy Guevara, Max Caster, Jungle Boy, and Airwolf Martin pairing off and brawling. Eventually MJF eliminates Jungle Boy. Again, Jungle Boy getting eliminated. I thought it was a bit anticlimactic in this matchup as well.
And that Jungle Boy, he always gets the short end of the stick. I don't know why I think he did win a Battle Royal, I think a couple of months ago, but he's always getting the short stick, the short stick. I don't understand it. But, I mean, again, if you saw the ending of this was more for a storyline purposes. Jungle Boy doesn't get hurt as far as character-wise, because you already saw what he did the following week with his match with Dax Harwood.
Yeah.
You know what he's all about.
But this is the thing, they do that, and then the kind of momentum that he's got, he's just put in there to kind of make up the numbers, so to speak, which is not maybe a bad thing. We see Kaister coming in, trapping MJF's arms. Sammy comes in, super kicks him, but Max is able to eliminate MJF. Sammy, after he hit the super kick on MJF, was actually quite pleased with himself. They said Ali Sex Gods beating Airwolf down. Whip across Dallas hits a double DDT. Guevara almost dumped. He recovers, but Y2J clobbers Martin and Sammy. Is eliminated as collateral damage. Martin charges in, back body drops the apron, but Jericho thinks fast and hits the Judas effect to become the number contender for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. This wasn't a bad battle royal. We continued to store the Impact Tag Team titles. The Bucks came close. Martin impressed. I think the right team overall, Ron. But the camera did miss a few things as well in eliminations and moments that happened in the match.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. I mean, that's not one thing that I guess AEW has to work on as far as camera angles and all that. But again, like I said, there was a few stories in here. One, you already saw that, they might be not. Now we know the Revolution. The Young Bucks are not facing the Good Brothers. They're gonna face MJF and Jericho. But then there's the other story here now is MJF and Jericho are able to unseat the Young Bucks, and if they don't, is the Inner Circle going to break up? So it's a lot, again, cliffhangers. As long as they keep leaving the cliffhangers, you're going to want to come back and watch the following.
But you made a point earlier as well, and I think this is just proving what AEW does right. The fact is, like, even some that get eliminated in the Battle Royal, as we've seen with Archer and Kingston as well, will maybe play out into a singles match. So it means everything still matters, and maybe people have had to go at the rankings, but a win or loss still kind of builds into something that still has meaning,
Yeah, I mean, they don't really talk about it much like they used to. They still do put the number of wins and losses all time, whatever. But, I don't know if you noticed, before every other week they used to do the tag team rankings, the women's ranking, the men's ranking. If they do it, they probably do it in dark order. I mean, not dark order, in dark. I said dark order. Anyway, dark. So they probably do it there, but I haven't seen that in a while. But they still do count, as far as the wins and losses, which kind of is gonna make me question the next segment that happened after this. Go ahead.
Well, we see the commentary hyping up the team, and then we get Jay Cargill gets a hype reel of working out, sends us to the break. Back from commercial, Tony Schiavone introduced Darby Allin and Sting. It brings Darby's upcoming TNT Championship against Joey Janela, but before Allin can answer, of course, Team Taz appears on the Tron broadcasting from the parking lot, saying that they're not allowed inside the arena because they roughed up some AEW staff. Ricky Starks said he doesn't think Sting is a man that he used to be. You can see it in his eyes, and Sting says he's going to make sure Darby has a one-on match against Janela next week, and if Ricky Starks can't see the icon anymore, maybe he needs to take a closer look.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So now you're going to give Darby Allin defending the belt against Joey Janela. Why? Why is it's either I could see this happening next week. Joey Janela wrestles Darby Allin, and Team Taz comes in and wipes out Darby and Sting. I mean, just as a setup for the match again. And we were just talking about the ranking system. Joey Janela is nowhere in the top 10. So why is he getting a TNT title shot? And I think that what it is, they're doing that because now they're going to upgrade or, enhance the storyline between Team Taz, Sting, and Darby Allin. That's my take on that.
Well, the thing is, like I said, they need, as I keep saying, they need the match now. They've done enough with the Team Taz interrupting Sting and Darby Allin. We need to kind of get to it, and then we can kind of move on. Darby Allin, then, it's a question of does he move away from Sting and concentrate on the championship, or what goes on there? Does the feud continue with Team Taz? But just to put Joey Janela there, it doesn't really help anybody because everybody's going to know it might be a great match, but the result, like we talked about, we already know what's going to be.
Yeah, it's not going to help Joey Janela at all. So, I mean, unless Joey Janela is going to be the guy who probably is going to be part of probably a group of guys who's going to fight off Team Taz, because that's the only thing I could think of. Because if you're not going to do that to enhance Joey Janela, then why you have Joey Janela in this match? And then we all know, I mean, this is the way I'm looking at it. We all know that Team Taz is going to interfere, and it's like what 4 or 5 of them. Because you add a Taz son in there now. And so it's now 4 against 2. They're going to probably jump him. And then is Joey Janela going to be one of those guys who's going to help? That's my thing, So, but then again, I question the ranking. Because, I mean, I don't know if they got a ranking system for the TNT belt, unless you could defend it with anybody you want. But that's another thing. I mean, why is Joey Janela getting a title shot when Joey Janela has not wrestled? I haven't seen him wrestle in God knows how long.
And it would be an easy thing to fix because all you have to do is have him have a match on Dark and say this is an opportunity to face the TNT champion, or something like that. Anyway, we get a video package for Dr. Britt Baker, DMD versus Thunder Rosa. This is the best build AEW I think have ever done for a women's match. I might be wrong there, but Rosa is the star. I was more, when a women's match usually comes on Dynamite, I think, okay, right, well, sit back and try and get through this. But this one actually was like on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, I mean, and this match, Britt Baker, according to what I wrote in my notes, Britt Baker wrestled one of the best matches she had since March of 2020 when she had that wrestling match with Sheeta where she broke her nose. I mean, that was the last time I saw Britt Baker actually wrestle her match the way she wrestled. I guess when she came back from an injury, she probably was scared of pushing her ankle because, I mean, she had an ACL tear or whatever it was. And when you saw her wrestling back then, she didn't have a lot of impact on her super kicks. She was not she was like she was green, like she just started wrestling. But this match, Thunder Rosa actually brought it out of her. And this match, you saw what Britt Baker is made of, and this is why they signed her the first woman to be signed. And this match was great. I mean, I was surprised that Britt Baker gave Thunder Rosa that much of a problem.
Well, this is the thing. We see a more serious Britt to start. Rosa went for Rebel, and Britt tried lockjaw straight away. Rosa fought back, and Britt worked the arm and brawl to the outside. We then get commercial, come back, Rosa's driver on the stage, back inside, slingshot knees, and everything Rosa does is just so kind of fluent as well in the ring. We see a folding press for two, back elbow blocked. Baker hits sling blade and then a basement super kick. They're both jockeying for position. Britt hits an air raid crash. Rebel passes Baker a glove off the ropes, running stomp, float over crucifix 2, lockjaw applied, but Rosa managed to reverse it into a pin, no good. And Baker still hanging in there, rolling away through. Kind of the technical wrestling. I think even JR said the mat wrestling.
It was beautiful because every time Britt Baker tried to put that lockjaw on her, Thunder Rosa would reverse. I don't know how many reverses within the 1 minute more, it kept happening. And like every time Britt Baker tried to put that lockjaw, Thunder Rosa found a way to counter it. I mean, it was beautiful wrestling.
It was great. And then Rebel gets in and tears the turnbuckle pad off. Thunder kicks her away. Britt with a schoolboy pin for 2, but Baker sidesteps, swinging reverse, STO into the exposed turnbuckle. Rosa is out. Britt applies a lockjaw and, of course, wins by referee stoppage. It was a great sell at the end. You actually started to think, it's Thunder Rosa actually really hurt herself. This was great stuff. A series of matches away for the title, I believe, between these two women. This was probably my favourite women's match in AEW history just because of the build-up to it and what they delivered in ring.
Yeah, and what's funny is that I really, really was invested in this little feud before they had the match because, Britt Baker's the big mouth girl, whatever. Thunder Rosa is a legit veteran, has been in the business for a while. And the fact that they had to, hold it up for 2 more weeks because Thunder Rosa was exposed to somebody who had COVID and they wanted to make sure that she was fine. The waiting was worth it. And let me tell you, this is not over. I see another match where probably Reva, whatever you want to call her, is going to be banned from ringside, and Thunder Rosa is going to get back. I mean, it's going to be interesting because right now they're going to have a women's tournament coming up, and they might meet up again, and they might have another great match. So, I mean, again, Britt Baker showed the side of her that I haven't seen in almost a year, and Thunder Rosa is Thunder Rosa, and this is what I'm talking about. The women's division with Thunder Rosa, Serena Deebs, if they could get more wrestlers that could bring that type of A game, the division could be good.
Well, I wouldn't mind. I said this, I think, back in November as well. Britt Baker, Sheeta at Revolution, and then you can have Britt and Rosa feud over the women's title and actually have, barn burners of matches and just, bring a bit of kind of reputation to the women's division. We see them footage from last week of Matt Hardy backstage with Adam Page as Tony Schiavone interviews him. He says he just want to tag one night only against Chaos Project. And, of course, when we come back from a break, they're making their way It is the match Hangman Adam Page and Big Money Matt Hardy versus Chaos Project. Hardy and Serpentico to start. Matt smashing his face into the corner. Tag to Page. Superstar press for 2. Chops in the corner. Whip. A charge and lariat snap suplex. Again, just a near fall. Tag to Hardy. Diving elbow. Shot off blind tag. Luther slams Serpentico onto Big Money for 2. The quick tags and they work over Hardy. Tag to Hangman. He cleared the apron. He ducks the lariat. Fall away slam with Serpentico. Doctor Luther out. A little back and forth. Buckshot. Hardy tags himself in and gets the pinfall after Page did the work. Thoughts on this? I liked the moment Page got taken off the apron and hit his face, but then responded as if it was kind of nothing, dodging the dive and then hitting the buckshot. Of course, Matt Hardy getting the pin. This is a harmless match, but again, is this leading to Page having to make a decision between Matt and Dark Order, or will they maybe go somewhere else?
Yeah, and like I said earlier, it's a great story. Again, Matt Hardy being the the obnoxious snob, tagging himself in, but you can see that Hangman Page was like, he was a little disappointed, like, hey, what the hell you doing? But he didn't care. So, but this is going to be very interesting because now, if you remember back, Private Party used to hang out with Hangman Page before he lost the titles, whatever. So I'm sure Private Party is going to be involved in that. And they're going to be like somewhere like, look, you could be with us, blah, blah, blah. We get to drink, we party, blah, blah, blah. And Dark Order is still maybe wanting to bring in Hangman Page. And I know that this week in the Being the Elite, Anna Jay was like, no, get out of here. But I think the decision is going to come down. You ready for this one? It's going to be from -1. Because -1 is still supposedly the leader of the Dark Order. And if -1 decides, well, I want Hangman Page in Dark Order, keep pursuing him, they're going to try. So it's going to be sometime where probably Dark Order guys are going to be feuding with Private Party, Matt Hardy, and maybe they'll have an 8-man tag where you'll have Silver, Reynolds, Eva Uno, and Stu Grayson against, Hangman Page, Matt Hardy, and the Private Party. Again, I'm thinking like a booker here. I'm thinking about long-term storyline.
This is the thing. And like you said, that would be a perfect moment as well when you're asking Page. Page can even watch Dark Order getting beaten up by Matt Hardy, who's, saying he's a friend to his face. And, of course, I think he's done, backstage and behind his back. And then Page finally saying, no, I'm going to do what's right. And the kind of reaction you're going to get from a crowd, you know what I mean, and online, I think will be incredible as well. And then Tony Schiavone announces a field for the number 1 contendership women's tournament. We've got a Japanese side and a US side, but I'll get onto the US side in a minute. The Japanese side is Aya Kong, Yuka Sagasaki, Vini, Emi Sakura, Ryo Mizunuma, Mei Surigo, Rin Kaduka, and Maki Ito. I apologise if I got any of that wrong. Of course, we'll be.
No, you did pretty well. You did pretty good.
The American side is Serena Deeb, Riho, Britt Baker, Taya Conte, Thunder Rosa, Rose, Anna Jay, and Layla Hirsch. Tony Schiavone.
I got a question.
Spit through it quickly. Go on.
I got a question, sir. Now, you read all the combatants, right? Yep. Japanese version, Japanese side, and American side, right?
Yes.
Why in the hell is Riho on the United States side?
Thank you very much. That's exactly what I want.
Can somebody explain that shit to me?
It's just
when I saw that, I was like, wait a minute. If you got a Japanese side and then you got to have a United States side, why the hell is Riho on the United States side?
I just didn't understand it. And the way Tony Schiavone, how quickly he said it, my finger was on the play and pause button to try and catch every name because, how quick he done it. Looking at it there, like you said, I think we will see Baker and Rosa maybe compete in this, but I think Baker would be the favourite now, unless maybe one of the Japanese sides surprises us. We just don't know.
Unless they're going to push Riho again to make it to the finals, which I'll lose my head on this because I never liked her as a world champion. And because I know Kenny Omega is very highly of Riho. It's either going to be Thunder Rosa or Britt Baker coming out of the United States side, and maybe I don't see Aja Khan coming out of there. One of the other girls in there from the other side could come out, but I don't want Riho nowhere in there. And I mean, they try to make us look foolish by adding Riho to the United States bracket. Really? Get out of here with that.
Well, we go to the break and the promise that the Penelope Ford, Kip Sabian are getting married next. But back for commercial, Marvez interviews Jericho and MJF as they head to celebrate their victory. But all he gets is cheers and shout. And they go to a room with the rest of the inner circle and celebrate, calling them collateral damage. Sammy Guerrero asks why it's always them that's collateral damage, which is a very good question, and walks away. So, of course, we see Guevara. Is Sammy Guevara ready to start fighting in the circle, or do you think this is a story that should go on and maybe a little bit longer?
Oh, the storyline on this is beautiful. Loving it. Now, when Sammy Guevara left the room, you heard MJF tell Jericho, go after him, right? And then he told Warlow, hey, get this guy out of here, the camera guy. He said, guys, we need to have our talk. This is all a setup. I think this has been a setup for a while for them, I think MJF, to take over the inner circle, and the Sammy Guevara and all these other guys, they all in plotting to get rid of Jericho. And I think because just by MJF saying we need to have the talk, which means they've been talking about it for a while, and I think this whole thing is an all setup. And if they don't win the tag belts and Revolution, I see MJF and the rest of the guys either beating up Jericho and kicking him out of the group.
Like I said, it's so interesting what they can do there. You know, there's kind of so many. Even if Santana and Ortiz kind of turned their backs on the inner circle, from what we've seen this past month or so, you couldn't really blame them either. You know.
Yeah, I mean, but then, if you kick out Jericho out of there, right? So now the question is, who is the right tag team in the group? And then you got Santana and Ortiz as the main group tag team in there, and then the rest of the other guys could just go either for the world title or the TNT titles. Because again, the dark horse out of all this is Warlow, and that's the guy I'm watching the most. Because Warlow, they've been teasing a breakup between Warlow and MJF, so I could see Warlow leaving the team, and maybe down the line Jericho comes back and Warlow ends up teaming with Jericho to go against the inner circle. That's another way they could go with this. But I don't know. After seeing what that little segment, I think I have a feeling they're all doing a setup. This is all a plot to get rid of Jericho.
But this is the great thing about it, setting up a kind of group, and you have so many different stories that you can go with and try and sort out as well. But all right, so up next, the ring is all set up at its wedding finery as the sinister minister James Mitchell is officiating. Vicky Guerrero walks Kip Sabian down the aisle. Jerry Lynn walks Penelope Ford down the aisle. The sinister minister begins the wedding ceremony with his unusual sinister twist on things and hands it to the groom for his vows. Kip talks about seeing her breasts and knowing that their love was meant to be. We move on to the exchange of rings. Taylor hands Miro the rings and Mitchell does the usual vows, but again, evil style, to have and to grope, kayfabing all lovers and so on. Sabian does, Ford does, and they put the rings on. Of course, now all they have to do is forever hold your peace objection spot. Miro interrupts and says he's been here before, and he's not asking that question.
That was great. That was great.
Mitchell invokes the power vested in by AEW and Tony Khan and pronounces a man and wife, and they kiss, of course. And at this moment in time, I'm thinking, going too bad. But then Miro gets to make his speech and a toast now. He talks about the nature of love and says his present is the fierceness and tenacity and so on. And everybody takes notice of a man-sized present in the corner. Chuck says it's from him. And Miro destroys it. Taylor goes to the floor after it. Miro orders him to clean it up. Miro finally gives the crowd chance and sings a little bit of "What is Love" before cutting it off. He calls for the cake before it turns out he's been handcuffed to the ropes. Chuck Taylor had all he can stand and can't stand no more. He decks Sabian, the fall gets knocked face first into the cake. Chuck ducks a punch and Kip hits Miro. Penelope gets on his back and finally Kip beats him down. Orange Cassidy was under the cake the entire time. We get a breach break on Sabian and Chuck and Orange stand tall as we go to a break. Now, my thoughts on this was, oh boy, if this was WWE, it would have been slated. They did the Lana in the cake spot that we've seen, but first off,
that's the worst wedding I ever seen on December 30th of 2019. That's how bad it is. I still remember the date on that. That was the worst.
Was this worse, or should we let them off because it's AEW for the first time?
No, it was. Being there was the first time AEW had a marriage going on there. The fact that they had James Mitchell doing it, which I was like, wait a minute, the devil himself being a priest. It was right there different. the part when Miro went and when I saw the box, I said, there's got to be somebody in the box. I thought Orange Cassidy. I had in mind that Orange Cassidy was going to pop out, but there was nothing in the box. I said, okay, he's somewhere in there, you know. The handcuff part, I love the camera work. If you think about it, because you didn't see Chuck Taylor go outside the ring, put the handcuff on the pole, put it around his leg, because at that time the camera was on Miro saying, you know, what is love, and going along with the crowd. The whole thing was, it's way better than the average marriage you see in wrestling. You know, there's going to be some type of breakup. They never get married. This was actually, I mean, they said online that this was an actual marriage between these two. They actually got married. But the fallout of it was pretty good. It wasn't bad. I mean, for the first time, it was entertaining. I won't say that it was the best, but it was entertaining.
Well, credit to Ford for trying her best in this one, and she did look quite emotional actually at some point, and she did lay in to Kip with the kiss. But back from commercial, we get a video of Shaquille O'Neal talking about his match against Cody Rhodes in Red Velvet, and he demonstrates his finisher move, a spinning back fist he calls a Black Tornado.
That was entertaining. I love that one.
We're informed the match will take place on March 3rd, Dynamite. Are you looking forward to seeing this?
Listen, when you got celebrities they don't belong in the wrestling ring, you know it's going to be comedic at some point. But being that it's going to be Jade Cargill, this will be her debut. You know, I feel that it's going to be a good thing for her because it's going to show what she's made of. I mean, I'm not too crazy about the pick that they picked of Red Velvet, but we'll see. I mean, if Shaquille does a wrestling move that you do not expect, I think I'm just going to jump off my chair because I had to see. I mean, it's not the first time he's been in a ring because he had a face-off with a Big Show at a Battle Royal in WrestleMania. I think it was WrestleMania, one of those. But, I mean, I think Shaq is going to do it, trying to try to do it entertaining. But, again, I'm not a big fan of celebrities going inside the ring. I mean, you see what WWE's doing. They're bringing in Bad Bunny from reggaeton artists over in America to be part of a wrestling match. But sometimes those matches don't really work. I mean, you saw what Snoop Doggy Dogg did a couple of weeks ago. The Bag of Bones, it was supposed to be Frog Splash. So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I think the match being announced is about time. I think this is going to be Jade Cargill's coming in party. You know?
Was it interesting that it was announced for a Dynamite rather than the Revolution pay-per-view?
I mean... It's better because you get to see many people going to watch it. You know, you're gonna have thousands of you can have 1 million people. Think about it. They're gonna do it at TNT, right? Shaq does the NBA whatever they call it. I mean, I love that show that he does when they do cover NBA. You're gonna have basketball fans are gonna tune in to watch Shaq wrestle. See that? That's a smart move because WWE did this a couple of weeks ago. They had had the New Orleans Saints wrestling. I mean, playing some other team. When the show ended, a lot of the NFL fans stood to watch SmackDown, and they got 3 million views. So you think AEW didn't take notes on that? They playing it smart.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens there, but we continue with Beach Break, and it's Eddie Kingston versus Lance Archer in a Lumberjack match. It's a hot start. Archer beating Kingston down, but then he runs the ropes, Butcher and the Blade trip him up, and Lance brawls on the floor with the Lumberjacks. Pretty Peter Avalon ducks the charge, and Archer goes head first into the ring post. The Murdoch Monster recovers though and lays waste to Ebony as we go to a break. And then when we're back up in the turnbuckles, jockey for his position, but the bunny leaps on Lance's shoulders. He has her up for the blackout, but Eddie hits the back fist to the future. Archer rolls out the ring so he can cover him. Jake the Snake Roberts comes to aid and drops Angelico. Exploded suplex from Kingston. Blade puts a table in the ring, but Bear Bronson spears him through it. Bear Country hits the ring and take Butcher and the Blade out. And then Lance with a big rock bottom for 2. Eddie up top, but Archer cuts him off and pinfall with a blackout. This wasn't great for me, and I don't know. Archer seemed to be talking to Kingston a lot during the match, and even moments on the outside, it seemed like, I don't know if Archer was just maybe waiting for his spots. Did you find that, or was that just me?
It wasn't in the match. I mean, even though it was a Lumberjack match, you're always going to know the beginning of the match, you saw the all-out brawl between everybody feuding. That's never good, but I mean, I love the spot where Lance Archer jumped over the top rope and landed on top of all the guys outside. I mean, the match wasn't better than the one the week before. And I think what they did was, yes, you're going to have a Lance Archer Eddie Kingston match. And I guess they wanted to move on to another feud for Lance Archer. But it also was an introduction to Bear Country. Because I was like, what the hell Bear Country is doing out there? Bear Country's that tag team that comes out in dark. But they were part of the Lumberjacks, which means what I'm looking at here is AEW is going to introduce new stars and new wrestlers by the way of either match like a Lumberjack match or like what happened a couple of weeks ago with the Varsity Blondes were introduced because I don't forget who it was. I think the best friend went to get back up against the Inner Circle. So I saw this match more of Jake the Snake Roberts still got it, doing a short clothesline, taking out Angelico. Bear Country being introduced, because I'm sure people were like, who the hell is it? People who don't watch Dark was like, who are these guys? But they, pretty much the announcing team pretty much explains. I love Excalibur because he tells you all the details. So that's the way I saw it. I mean, the pin itself was legit because that is Lance Archer's move. I would have loved if he would have put the everybody dies claw on it and then pinned them like that. But that pretty much tells you that feud is over. It's over with.
This is the thing at the moment. I don't know if it's 1-1 or it's going to be a hardcore match to finish it, or if, like I said, they're going to move on for the feud because obviously what happened just a little bit later. But we get a video promo from the FTR complaining about being suspended and blaming Jurassic Express for it. They run down all the injustices that have been subjected to and Tully Blanchard asks what it takes to get a title shot for the best team in the world. Dax Harwood says they're not bad men, but sometimes they have to ask what bad men would do. And he pulls Marco Stunt into frame, handcuffed to a chair with his mouth duct tape. And on that note, we go to a child.
They kidnapped the child. Call child protective custody. They just kidnapped the child.
What would FTR do? Back from commercial, we get a promo with Johnny Janela regarding this title match next week. He says he and Darby have a long history of magging themselves and each other in pursuit of love, but the stakes are higher than ever. And then Cody and Omega and the Good Brothers make their entrance as we go to a break and on to our main event. And it is Death Triangle, Pac, Ray Phoenix and John Moxley versus Good Brothers and Kenny Omega. Right, let me take a breath and try and come through some of this action that we got. We get Anderson and Pac to start, trading punches, headlock, shot off shoulder block, drop down, leapfrog. The bastard gets down and hits Carl. He scrambles to his corner to tag Gallows in. Moxley wants to tag and gets it. Chest kicks and a knee trembler late on. While Phoenix and Anderson legal. Quick tags from Death Triangle to work Machine Gun over. I even liked the little bits of the early going with Gallows pushing Moxley into his corner to get the tag and then Moxley doing a similar thing as well. Because, just showing you what kind of tag team wrestling is not just all about, partner getting worked on the hot tags. It's about trying to cut off the ring as well and do those sort of things.
We don't see that anymore.
Yeah, and that's another thing I thought they were doing really well. And of course, Don Callis on commentary talking about the chemistry that each team has. We see Omega tripping Pac up and Gallows press slamming him. Moxley and he's taking down anything that moves, including dives to the outside as he goes to break. Then we're back and Moxley is worked on, but he blocks a magic killer and tags Phoenix. Phoenix is on fire, baby. And he clears the ring. Pac and Phoenix stereo moonsaults, then spins into a cutter, but Omega takes back control with a vicious Snapdragon suplex.
Oh, yeah, you seen that? That Snapdragon suplex was from the second rope. It was nasty. I was like, oh.
Pac in and gets triple teamed and Liger Bomb, but he's still in this. V-trigger the ropes, electric chair, but Pac managing to fight out. Phoenix in with a step up soul, but Mox with a lariat, pump kick from Ray. John with a German suplex. The bastard gets him up, bridging German suplex so close. And again, you can see now the teamwork is starting to pay off between Pac, Phoenix and Moxley. Mox is legal. He draws Omega up, breaking briefly to deck Anderson on the apron, trading strikes. The V-trigger gets a lariat, a big boot with a pump kick to kick off everybody do something cool part of the match. We get a crescent kick from Phoenix, top Congiro, sidestep the V-trigger, kick to the gut, underhooks, countered. Kenny with a paragon shift, but Pac comes off the ropes with a 450 splash to break it up. Gun stun block, Moxley hits his own and tags Phoenix in. Springfield moonsault on Anderson is not enough. off the top, caught into a spine buster, tag to Gallows, gets him up. Kenny cuts back off with a V-trigger, and then all of a sudden the Magic Killer onto Phoenix for the victory. Whew, what a
that's
match.
A lot.
that was
a lot of notes. Shit.
But what an awesome match that was, that main event.
Yeah. I mean, the best part, was, let me put it this way. When the match started, first of all, a Pac versus Carl Anderson match, it's like a dream match. You know what I'm saying? Too bad it was a tag team match. So when I saw that, I was like, that's beautiful. I'm sure these two was never wrestled. I mean, the in and out from the Death Triangle with Phoenix and Pac was beautiful. Moxley, I figured Moxley being there was going to be weird because it's not, but they work together very well. Now, the craziest spot that I saw was the when Omega went for the pin on John Moxley and Pac hit the Black Arrow, and I was like, oh my God. I'm like, he pretty much hurt his own partner. I mean, this match was amazing, but the ending of this was crazy because now we see Lance Archer comes out, right? And then he attacks the Good Brothers. Now, in my head, I'm saying to myself, why is Lance Archer attacking the Good Brothers, right? But it was because the Good Brothers was attacking Pac and Phoenix. He had teamed up with them. And I'm going to let you say the last part, what happened after that. I'm going to give you the honors, sir.
Thank you very much. So Moxley crawls over to Omega, slows his feet, but he gets blindsided by a masked man. And it's Kenta. Kenta is here. Go to sleep.
Yes. Bullet Club in the house. Yes. But you see, now I'm in my house, right? And my roommate, me and him were hitting each other up back and forth. And at one point I see, after I saw Kenta, he was like, oh, I'm not going to tell you how it ended because I was like probably a couple of minutes back. But when I saw Kenta, I jumped out of my seat because I'm like, wow, this is crazy. What's Kenta doing there? I mean, probably a couple of days before that, John Moxley popped out in New Japan Strong and pulled out Kenta. But watching Kenta AEW, I was like, this is crazy. But after, I think the next day, then I come to find out that New Japan had no choice but to work with AEW because Moxley has the IWGP United States title. Also, another thing that I didn't get to realize was that when John Moxley signed a contract with AEW, he was allowed to wrestle in Japan, but when Japan was in the United States, Moxley cannot wrestle for New Japan. That was the contract, the way it is. And it's funny that I didn't catch up to this on last Friday when they mentioned about Moxley putting out Kenta, and they're going to meet up at New Beginnings in Oceana, California on the 26th. And never hit my head that, wait, how the hell are you going to wrestle him in California when there's a clause in the contract that Moxley can't wrestle for New Japan in the United States? And as we find out later, the night after Kenta attacked Moxley, New Japan, Impact, and AEW are all working together. This is a great time to be a podcaster, a wrestling podcaster, and a wrestling fan.
Well, it's crazy, because the thing is, it's a shocking end to a fantastic episode. There's a couple of things. I think Kenta looked cooler than he did in his entire WWE NXT run.
Oh, yeah.
Just by putting the GTS onto Moxley. Of course, Moxley hasn't been able to travel across, but this is a story that the WNR have been keeping closely because we watched Wrestle Kingdom early in the year, and of course with Moxley's return now, and it's really interesting, like you said. First off, we'll talk about the episode of Beach Break, and then we talk about the kind of ramifications of what this means with the three companies kind of working together. For me, Beach Break was fantastic because you had the awesome main event. The wedding maybe not great, but everything else in there I think hit them up. What were your overall thoughts on Beach Break?
Beach Break wasn't bad. Beach Break, it wasn't great and it wasn't bad at all. Again, the wedding part, we knew that was going to happen. I expected worse. I expected something ridiculous, out of whack, comedy, whatever. But it was fine. I didn't have no problem. The Battle Royal, the way they started the Battle Royal, that was pretty good. And once toward the end, we all saw there was an Inner Circle storyline. Listen, I think from 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, I give it probably a 4. It wasn't bad. Especially for a show that was free on TV. Also, they did very well here in the United States because they beat NXT by they destroyed NXT on Wednesday. They almost got close to almost 1 million views, and that was just a regular event. Well, the only thing was that the main event was great, the way it ended, whatever. But the storylines they building, gets you know, again, I talk about cliffhangers. It shows you that the fans are invested on what's gonna happen. You got the Hangman Page storyline, you got the Inner Circle storyline, you got the Good Brothers and the Young Bucks and Omega storyline, and you know, saying now you add Kenta into the mix with Moxley. You got a bunch of storylines that now is gonna show you that more people are going to be invested into AEW because they're going to want to know what's going to happen. And now and again, this also helps Impact because now you got a talent exchange between those two companies where you got Private Party going to Impact. They're challenging the Good Brothers. Everybody wins. Now, I'm hoping that Ring of Honor and NWA gets into the mix. I mean, AEW is already working with NWA. If you add Ring of Honor into the mix, man, listen, by the time summer comes around, me and you are going to be doing 3-hour shows.
this is the thing. And for anybody who's kind of, I won't say new to wrestling, or anybody, you know, maybe just been watching the past couple of years, like, can you just explain to them how big this is, that kind of 3 wrestling companies at this moment in time are kind of working hand in hand? It's kind of done before, has it, you know?
Let me put it this way. And I'm gonna break it down. This has not been seen since, I believe, in the territory day. We're talking about companies that at one time were working together. Let me put it this way: New Japan. I mean, New Japan and Ring of Honor was already working together. Impact used to work with New Japan until I think it was 2007, 2008. They broke up their relationship because the way they treated Okada when he was a young lion. They had him teaming up with Samoa Joe, like the Green Hornet, and they didn't like that part because they felt he was killing the future of the company. Now you have, you only have AEW and New Japan and Impact together. You also got to think about Impact, who works with AAA Mexico. AEW works with AAA Mexico. New Japan works with CMML Mexico. Ring of Honor, you got NWA, Ring of Honor, NWA work together. So you got close to almost 6-7 promotions. They could come out of nowhere and decide, well, hey, Impact needs this guy to show up at a show because we're doing this pay-per-view. Can we borrow him? Can we do? And it's like back in the territory in the 70s and 80s, this is what used to happen. Promoters will call the next promoter, hey, I have your world champion come to my promotion and wrestle. This is what's happening now, or it's gonna happen now once this pandemic is over, and you're gonna see more wrestlers coming to America. Because remember, New Japan wants to build a solid fan base. They already got a solid fan base here in the United States, but right now they announced they're gonna be on Roku, where you can stream it every week for an hour. That's money for everybody. Who gets to win? The wrestlers and the fans. You know what I'm saying? Podcasters also, because podcasters now, you have content, you have, things to talk about, and it's going to be, listen, the way I look at this is going to be fun. I want to see where this is going to go. They had a exclusive video where Omega ran up to Kenta and threw up the 2-sweet, and Kenta told him to shut the hell up, and he's not here to be his friend, he's there to be Moxley. You never know. If you may even see the Gorillas of Destiny show up at AEW and Bullet Club take over. It could be a lot of things, guys. It's exciting to be a wrestling fan, and it's a lot of things looking forward. And you could be like I said, a fantasy booker. I mean, I got a lot of things in my head that I say this can happen, this can happen. Listen, if you're a wrestling fan, you don't have to stay in one bubble and one promotion. Go check out all of them, and trust me, it's gonna be fun.
Well, the thing is as well is that, you and I will know that to be able to access wrestling and now has never been a better time with the apps and the kind of online stuff. And, you try and watch Japanese wrestling 20 years ago, it just wasn't happening in other companies. And even now they're saying, let's make it easier and we'll just put it all into kind of one big company. You'll be able to kind of watch all this action as well. Like I said, it's a really special time, and like once this kind of horrible thing that's happened with like the COVID ends and we finally get the fans back into the arenas, I think, talk about golden generation, so to speak.
Let's not also forget. You got your biggest company in London, in England, which is Rev Pro. Rev Pro works with New Japan. Rev Pro, Will Ospreay is their champion. What better wrestler? One of the greatest wrestlers right now in the business is the champion over there in UK. So, listen, it's oh my God, it's so many stuff, dude. So many stuff.
We're out of doubt. Well, finally, Impact Wrestling is in the kitchen cooking something tasty in an effort to spice up their No Surrender event on February 13th. Impact will debut a new style of match guaranteed to have total non-stop action. I mean, do you love triple threat matches? Well, then the triple threat revolver is for you. Trey Miguel, Chris Bay, Josh Alexander, Blake Christian, Ace Austin, Willie Mack, Suicide, and Davari will compete in one of the most unique and action-packed matches in pro wrestling. Three competitors start the match. One is pinned or submitted, another will enter the fray. The triple threat matches will continue until there are no more entrants, in which the final pinfall submission will earn the victor a shot at the X Division Championship.
Oh, I'm going to check it out. I'm definitely going to check it out. So, we'll definitely review it, because you're an Impact guy. So I'll definitely check it out. I'll give you my input on that. So we'll definitely do something, and definitely we're doing Revolution. So
yes, without a doubt, Revolution is definitely, and like I said, No Surrender is on next weekend. The card currently stands as we said, the triple threat revolver match, the X Division Championship TJP versus Raju, the World Tag Team Championship Good Brothers versus Private Party, and the World Championship Rich Swann versus Tommy Dreamer. And like I said, if you're on the next week's show as well, I mean, that would bring it, because we can do No Surrender as our main event. Also in Impact, we're going to have the Good Brothers versus Chris Sabin and James Storm. And in AEW, they've announced that it's going to be Kenny Omega teaming with Kenta to take on Lance Archer and John Moxley in the Lights Out match.
Yeah, sounds good. You know what? We're gonna cover No Surrender, and we'll cover AEW for this week. I'm definitely looking forward for that. Lance Archer and Moxley tag team. I mean, it's funny because these two guys nearly killed themselves back a year ago in Wrestle Kingdom for the United States IWGP belt. So it's gonna be very, very interesting. I mean, it's fun. I'm telling you, I cannot wait to watch AEW this Wednesday.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Like I said, we get the fallout from all of that, and hopefully we'll get to, like I said, next week, as it were, next episode that we do. But for today, that is it. Don't forget, our follower of the week is Shaquem Empire, and don't forget we're across all social media, Twitter at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNRJR, and of course now is your chance to plug all your stuff.
Yes, you can find my stuff, the Chokeslam Wrestling Report. You can find it on YouTube. I got a YouTube channel there. You guys can check that out. I got my audio podcast. You can find it at Apple, Spotify, Stitcher. I mean, I'm everywhere. All the major podcasts, audio podcasts. Also, I have a merchandise. You can also, in the merchandise website, you can also hear my podcast, the video, the audio. The website is tcwr.veryimpressive.com. That's tcwr.veryimpressive.com. So hopefully you get a shirt or a hat, Mr. James, and support the brother here. I would appreciate it. So check me out, guys. And again, James, I love being on your show. I mean, I have a great conversation, even though it's almost 2 hours, but it's worth it.
Without a doubt. I enjoy having you on as well. And of course, don't forget about the WNR on Facebook and Instagram. Of course, all Google platforms. Send us an email at WNRpodcast@gmail.com on YouTube. And the podcast got at the same time on YouTube as do SoundCloud on your phone. Also Spotify now and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate and review there. So that is it. Like I say, next episode will be Impact No Surrender. But until then, I have been James Rollins, and I was joined by the Ultimate One. And again, it's a pleasure to have you on. Your insight that you do, and like I said, the back and forth that we have kind of brings an extra level of excitement to the wrestling that we watch.
New York City in the house, and I'm always, anytime you ask me, I'm here to support. And again, thank you for having me, and you'll hear from me again next week. We're covering No Surrender and AEW.
Without a doubt, mate. Well, the pleasure is all mine. Thanks for joining us, and for everybody, thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.